Hi everybody, welcome to Back to the Pottery. Today we're going to be doing some art that is inspired by the work of the British artist Bridget Riley. So before I start to show you what you're going to do, what I'd like you to do is have a look at some of the work that she has already done.
Bridget Riley is an English painter and she's very famous for the style of painting that she does, which is called op art. So it's the sort of art that makes your eyes go a bit funny. So she's still alive, she's 89 now, and she lives and works in London, also in Cornwall, and in a city in France called Vaucluse. So you can see here all we have are just black and white squares, but they appear to be two cylinders rolling in towards each other. So she's done that by changing the distance between the squares, so you can see as they get towards the bit that's rolling away, they get smaller. Very simple, just black lines on a white page, but by slightly altering the angle and the lines of perspective, it makes your eyes go a little bit funny, doesn't it? In this painting, we see her using colour for the first time, and again, straight lines. The power of this is in the accuracy of the neatness of the lines and how strong they are. So it doesn't really trick your eye, but it's quite a lot for your eye and your brain to take in. So this time she's using a wavy line, so you almost get a sense that you've got a ripple on the page. The thing I think you need to know is that when Bridget Riley started doing this kind of work, it had never been done before, so she was one of the first people. Much more complicated, so you can see that she's drawn straight lines all the way down the page and then sectioned them off on the diagonal, but it's not a regular pattern, it's an irregular pattern. So again, your brain is just a bit confused by it. This is one of my favourites. There is a repeated pattern of colour here and a simple cross shape. I think you'd be quite surprised if you saw how big this was. So again, very, very powerful because of the clean, neat lines and the repeated pattern. Simple colour palette, interesting shapes, so breaking away from the geometry of the other shapes. Don't know, what do you think of that one? I've included this gallery photograph so you get an idea of the size of her paintings. I think it's important to realise the scale on which she was working. And here she is now as a much older lady, so she's been very, very influential in art throughout her life and has done all sorts of things to help young artists develop their careers. So a very powerful and successful woman. The next image I'm going to show you is something you might like to have a go at. So have a look. Wavy lines, quite straightforward to draw, but you've got to do it really carefully. So if you're going to do this, then you would need to start in the top left-hand corner and with a pencil draw your first wavy line. And then obviously you repeat that across, but you need to make sure that the curves match all the way across. It's not as easy as it looks. So this is a fun thing to do if you'd like to have a go at working in black and white. The second option I'm going to show you is if you want to have a go at working in colour, which I think is probably a bit more fun for you. So in this one, it almost looks as though the colours are pouring down a hole. It's quite difficult to draw. I had a few goes before I made this film to see if I could show you how to do this, but I think it is quite tricky. By all means have a go. I'm going to show you next on the film a slightly simpler way that you could do this. So it's important that you do the drawing first of all, and then the colour that you add is very neat and very, very clear and careful.
So you are going to need 2 pieces of A3 paper. So hopefully Mr. Millard can find those. So this size you need 2 pieces, super sharp pencil, ruler, metre ruler would be handy if possible, but if not we'll manage. So first thing you need to do is change your A3 piece of paper into a square. So the way we're going to do that is if we take the second sheet and twist it at right angles and line up the 2 outside edges. If we draw a line down here, this is going to make a square. So 1 piece of A3 paper, here's the second piece, and what we're going to do is we're going to line up the corners and the edge along here and here so they fit exactly. Then if you take your ruler and place it along the edge, holds the paper nice and flat, and you should be able to draw a line down there. So when I move that out of the way, you can now see you've got a perfect square. And the next thing to do is to cut that piece off. We need to find the middle now. So using your long piece of A3, going from corner to corner, it will just reach. What I want you to do is to paint a very faint line roughly in the middle, like that, and then turn it round and do it the other way. So you're going to end up with a little cross in the middle. I'll press a bit harder actually so you can see it on the film. So this point where the two lines cross over, make a little dot there, that is the middle of your piece of paper. What we're going to do is we're going to make a spiral pattern on this piece of paper, which then we can either make to be black and white, or it can be lots of bright colours, whichever you prefer. So I think the easiest way to do this is to start from your middle dot here, and you're going to draw a curved line that comes around. So make sure you've got a curve in it. So it's curving round like that. Really concentrate on getting that first curve. If it's straight, you'll end up with lots of straight lines rather than curves. So then starting here again, so follow the shape of that curve, but as you come around, be thoughtful that you want to make this distance here much, much bigger than here. I find it easier to keep moving the piece of paper around, watching for that curve. When Bridget Riley did this, I'm sure she had a very mathematical, precise way of doing this. Now, I'm not very happy. This curve is getting a little bit straight. It's not as curvy as that one, so I've really got to watch out for that. Try and bring it around a bit more, better. So you can work your way all the way around the piece of paper until you've filled all of it with these shapes. That's the difficult part finished. So you need to get your drawing done first of all. In order to make this an optical illusion, you're going to have to really concentrate on the colouring, and it's going to take you some time. But maybe you can have some music on and just relax and feel very happy while you're doing it. You can do it black and white, in which case you would need to alternate each section, black and then white. Or you could do it with lots of different colours, whatever you want to. If you're going to be using colouring pencils, which I think would be good, you need to make sure that you're going in one direction. So, can you see? And I'm really paying attention to get up to this edge. As you come into here, you need to make sure, got a nice sharp pencil. And then, so the rough colouring in is done there. So now you really need to pay attention to that line and get it as perfect as you possibly can in order for the optical illusion to work. If you leave it a bit messy like this, it's just not going to work and you won't get the effect that you would like to. So, taking your time. Now, if you're at home, you could use felt tips or paint. paint's more difficult, but felt tips would be good. If you're in school and you've got your own felt tips, that would be fine. You will all have colouring pencils. I haven't got enough felt tips for everybody in school. So just think what you've got that you can use. Now you can see as I come up to the edge, I don't want to be colouring onto the table, so remember the good idea of always having a scrap of paper underneath, so then if you go off the edge, it doesn't matter at all. So although I've coloured it, I'm now just really going over, taking the time to make sure it's as good as it could possibly be. This is not difficult to do, but you will need to actually try. You can't just gaze out the window and have a bit of a chat, think it will turn out all right, because you'll be disappointed. So really concentrate and try and make sure that it's as coloured as neatly as you can. And then off you go with any random colours that you want. You could decide you're going to do all cool colours, so you could have purples and blues and greens. You could have opposing colours. You could have purple, then orange, for example. You could do a pattern. You could do rainbow colours. Entirely up to you. See what you fancy, really, and see what materials are available. This will take you time, so take your time and do it to the very, very best of your ability. I think this project is going to take you 2 weeks in school to do. You might even really want 3 weeks, but we haven't got time for 3 weeks because we'll be on the summer holidays. So you need to get on and concentrate. Do make sure in the first week you get your drawing done and get started with it. Don't spend time worrying and rubbing it out. Be brave and go for it, okay? And see how you get on. Love to see your pictures on Shovey, so do send them in. Good luck, everybody.